Good
morning, dear ones.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Chico. It is my pleasure to be here today to affirm for myself, first of all, what I know is true. And I invite you to join with me as we take this journey. Together in love. Was the song perfect?
Perfect.
Always. Did she know? Sure she knew. But, however, I know it's always perfect. And every Sunday when we have special music, it is always the perfect song. And so I don't know if you had gotten the memo on the title.
Love.
Love.
No.
That's all we need, love. So thank you. Well, again, welcome to our celebration this Sunday. It's a glorious moment, isn't it? To be. To be. To be in this moment is the glory of living. Because if we're not in this moment, we're living somewhere else. We're not enjoying this. It would be like last night at the Ho 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 dinner that Andy and Maggie Tureen donated and several of us bid on and bought into. It would be like looking at the dessert over here and trying to eat the entree over here, all the while it's going onto my lap, or, you know, and I'm just, and it's not savoring the moment if we're not being here now, in this moment. So today, I invite you to be fully present and gloriously conscious, to realize the gift that is in every single moment. Today is the day that Spirit in you is more alive than ever. Say with me, would you? Today is the day.
Today is the day.
The Spirit of God within me.
The Spirit of God within me
Is alive and well.
is alive and well.
Thank you. Do you believe that? Sounded like you did. Parts of it. Shakespeare famously said, to be or not to be. That is the question. To be or not to be? For me, I'd rather be. How about you? I would rather be than not be. I'd rather be alive, awake, and conscious, fully present right here, right now, and in high expectation of the good that is of this life. There is so much good. So much good. There's a little good thing in the... Is she in the nursery right now? Oh my gosh. Andy and Heather's daughter. She is so precious. That precious moment. And I think there's nothing like a young child that keeps one present. Is there? Is there? And so, but not having children of my own like that, I'm drawn to that little spirit who is just in the moment, telling you what she's about, what she doesn't want. And it changes just like that. She's just moving, but wherever she is, she's present, she's looking. She loves light switches. Oh, look, I can do that. So as she discovers, that's our life too. We're still like the child if we stay in the moment and we stay present. Are you awake to life?
Yeah.
Are you really awake to life? Are you excited to get up and get going every single day? No. Sometimes I would rather sleep in. But I don't dread when I get up, finally. You know, that, oh, I'm up, yay. Yeah, there are those nights when maybe you got to bed a little later than you thought you should. Or you had a restless night. Or you had the weight of the world on your shoulders that you put on yourself. Or maybe you had some not so pleasant news. the day before. That kept the mind going, oh, I did that. Ooh, ooh. How many have come awake at 4 in the morning going, oh, I forgot about that. Or, I should do that. I do that. Don't you just love that? So I write it down. And then I can sleep. That works for me. That's being in the moment. Some of those moments we don't often think are for us, do we? But they really truly are. They push us, they propel us to whatever's to be next. To be or not to be. Things happen. Life evolves. Sometimes with a great deal of drama and emotional fanfare. I love words, emotional fan. Can you just see it? Emotional fanfare. Emotional fanfare. And we all get caught up in it. We do. It's easy. It's kind of a rush to our human body. Well, to be or not to be, life, for me, is the eternal call to be conscious. To be conscious. When we get out of those moments when we're confused and doing the emotional fanfare, it's a call to be conscious. A call to be present. A call to be who we really are. So this call to be conscious of what? Of what is to be. Being conscious of what is to be. You are surrounded by an infinite possibility. And if we're in the confusion, the emotional fanfare, we don't see it. We do not see it. So as you accept an idea of a greater possibility, you step up to what I call the portal of truth, of what is to be. We actually can, in consciousness, we step forward just a bit to be able to take a moment to consider what's possible for us. From a proactive state, from a clear state of mind. And then as you accept the idea and step through the greater possibility doorway, you step into a greater understanding of what is true for you. This teaching, the science of mind, is filled with wonderful ideas, universal ideas, which offer clarity on ways to be. And to be more conscious of the being more of the time. Because we forget. We drop back into our old patterns. Except for me. So, it's so easy. It's so easy. Because we're so accustomed to the way we were. If the song goes, the way we were. Perfect time to share a gift I received this week. Those of you who were here last week, I used an example of getting rid of those false ways and beliefs, and I used the term spiritual roundup. So I received a collage, and it says, Spiritual Roundup, Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, on the Roundup bottle. So, thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Sandy. And I just thought, you know, someone heard that for themselves, and took it to a deeper level. Did a project. This will bring you an A in the Science of Mind class. Ernest Holmes in the textbook tells us, the practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth. A willingness to let the inner spirit guide us with the conscious knowledge that the law of the Lord is perfect. Lord meaning the indwelling spirit. or the divine good within us. The law of the divine good is perfect. You are imbued with the good of God. You are imbued with that love of spirit. You can't get out of it, even though you might try, because I've tried. I'll probably try again. But we cannot get out of it, even though we try. Because every time we hear truth, there's a, oh yeah, that's who I am. Sinners? No. That's not who I am. Lovers? Yeah. Lovers of spirit, lovers of truth. You are the perfect package, a very fine blend, I might add, of greater awareness. You have that capability. You're programmed with that. You are supported in your purpose by who you already are. And your purpose is to be together in love with this life. Together in love with this life. You are here so that you might share equally the space of the heart, a compassionate avenue of understanding that to be is to say yes to a greater livingness. That's our purpose here, at least for this morning. But I believe it's more universal than just this morning. How do you say yes to God's greater bounty? To more good? To more of anything in your life? How do you do that? Well, Albert Einstein knew, so I'll quote him next. Our task is to free ourselves by widening our circle of compassion, to embrace all creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty. Isn't that wonderful? Scientist. Who knew? I don't even know him as a scientist. But there again, I hadn't stepped through that portal to look at something greater about him until I was researching for my lesson today. So my friends, compassion is a desire to alleviate another's less thans. To alleviate another's less thans. It's not to fix. It's not to judge. It's not to smack. It's just to be of assistance, to be open, to be a presence. That's when we can say yes to God's bounty. That's when compassion opens up in the situation. Because compassion is to open up. And compassion is love. Compassion is seeing the oneness in this lifetime. And in this lifetime's creation. And compassion acts are moments of what I call vulnerability. Tender and real. Compassion is tender. Soft. Might even be a tear. But it's tender. Compassion is seeing through the effect and into the heart of what is true. In our Science of Mind teaching, I'd like to share a reading, and it's in the section from the teaching of Jesus. Because we talk a lot about in our classes the Christ consciousness. And that's what we focus upon. And he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. That's from the Bible. Ernest Holmes goes on to metaphysically interpret. This is the most perfect lesson ever taught by the great teacher. When he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. tender, vulnerable. This means that God turns to us as we turn to God. A more beautiful thought could not be given than this. There is always a reciprocal action between the universal and the individual mind. As we look at God, God looks at us. As we look at truth, truth responds. If we give compassion, guess what? Love surrounds. He goes on to say, it is not true that when we look at God, God is looking through us at himself. God comes to us as we come to him. Him being capital, the masculine aspect. It is done to us as we believe. We've all heard that. And I believe that. Act as though I am, and I will be. Believe it, walk your talk. Move into the space, to the portal of compassion. And listen. Something happens when you're living from your compassionate nature. There is an anointing, a spiritual cleansing. Now, for me, anointing is putting yourself in a consciousness of unity, of oneness, of absolute being and nothing else. If you can visualize being surrounded by this loving, healing energy, more than just the oil of, the old stories. And I've had that experience. And it's wonderful. But it's more than that. It's more than that. Anointing is the flow of divine awareness, a washing your soul with love. And so, today is the day that I know the Spirit lives as more love in you. Today is the day you are living in love as you allow the compassionate nature to bloom, just like nature here, to bloom into its greatness as you. So today, let's decide right now to be. Do you want to be? You want to just be in the moment? Do you want to just be? That together in the spirit of love, this is the way to be. So I thank you for the love and compassion that you are, beloveds, to your family and to your community, and most importantly to yourself. All are blessed by your presence in this life. All. There's not one single person in your life that isn't blessed by your presence. The key is to be the blessing. Be the blessing that you want to see in the world. Look with a heart of compassion for opportunities to raise and praise others. And when you do that, there's an washing of your soul that is so divine. And know you're loved. Always. Namaste. So it is.